Good morning, and thank you for registering for today's webinar with Barclaycard Payments and Kew Green Hotels. It's all about working in partnership and how the right teams pulling together can make projects fly. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jane Pendlebury. I'm the CEO of HOSPA, the Hospitality Professionals Association. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of June. It's 10 a.m. and there's no longer a heat wave in England. In fact, there might be a flood coming. Anyway, I'm grateful to Barclaycard Payments and Kew Green for helping us pull together this webinar today. And I'm delighted to be joined by Lanik from Barclaycard and Toby Hill, Director of Food and Beverage at Kew Green Hotels. We're due to be chatting for around 25 minutes today with time for questions after that. So we should be finished by 10:30, 10:45, depending on how many questions you ask. Please do ask questions throughout. There should be a link at the bottom of your screen where it's just saying Q&A, so pop them in there. And if there's not enough time to get back to you all with the queries, we will come back to you afterwards. The webinar is being recorded and we're happy to share the link afterwards, and it will also be available on our website and on YouTube as usual later this week. But let me waste no more time and introduce our speakers today. So Lauren, let's start with you. Could you just say who you are and what you do?
Yes, hello everybody. Nice to meet you all, albeit virtually. So I'm Lauren Lanik. I'm a relationship director at Barclaycard Payments, and I specialise in the hospitality and leisure sector. I've been with Barclaycard now for just over 10 years, and overall have got about 13 years experience in payments. In my role specifically, I work closely with my portfolio of hotel groups on their payment and technology strategies, particularly where there's some complexities across multi-site estates. Much of my focus is on helping clients optimize performance, improve their guest experience, and implement solutions that are scalable for the long term.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lauren. And Toby.
Morning, Jane and Lauren. My name's Toby Hill, and everybody, sorry. My name's Toby Hill. I'm food and beverage director for Kew Green Hotels. So we're a hotel management company. Essentially, my role encompasses anything to do with food and beverage across our estate, including, for the purposes of this call, how we had to roll out the new POS and payment system in Kew Green.
Brilliant place to start, actually, Toby. So at the very, very beginning of this project, what were you looking to sort out within your food and beverage operation, and what risks and inefficiencies were you experiencing that you needed to change?
So when I joined in February 25, Jane, and the system that they had in place at that time was a pay per transaction system. So very simple, nothing fundamentally wrong with it, but it didn't give us the best guest experience. What we needed was a platform that could grow with the guests' needs, the industry, and how it's changing fundamentally and very quickly. So we needed something that was a lot more flexible. The capabilities were there to develop and add more modules on as the landscape changes, and also make it easy for the team. That was fundamentally what we needed to do. So guest experience and ease for the team.
Right, brilliant. And doing a digital transformation as you did is never easy for the team. How would you define a successful transformation in hospitality beyond the technology itself?
Look, I'm sure that a lot of people watching today will know this. It's about the people. I will talk a bit more about how many platforms I looked at before I met Lauren. But I needed for Barclaycard Payments and for Lauren to suddenly fly in and save me. It was all about having experts, independent, non-biased experts manage who was going to be best for our particular scenarios. And it was Lauren will probably laugh, but I'm not the biggest IT geek on the planet. And I went to the big people first, and after about 4, I was completely baffled. And then luckily Lauren came in.
Ah, Lauren, that's nice, isn't it? The hero saved the day. So it wasn't an easy challenge with Kew Green, what you had to do. How did you go about sort of understanding what Toby and his team's problems were, and how to solve them, how to even begin to solve them?
Well, the platform was creating the old platform was creating a lot of frustration with the team, and that's something that I was basically faced with this wall of criticism as soon as I walked in. So we knew we had to change it. We knew we had to go for something. So um, I went on my own with very little anybody else's involvement. I went out on the discovery phase of the journey, and that's when I saw the key players. And I think, look, to me it was a POS system, and it was going to do this, it was going to do that, or it can do that. And I think for me, with just an F&B chef background, fundamentally, it's easy to get very confused very quickly. So we were searching. There's certain platforms that come recommended to certain brands, so on and so forth. But what I really needed was I needed to trust a provider. That's what I fundamentally needed to do. And I'm not saying I didn't trust the others, but I needed somebody that was going to take my hand and walk me through this. And then we got to we just out of the blue. I think we have a relationship with Barclaycard and Barclaycard payments anyway. And Lauren rang me one day and said, I can help you with this. And that's when things changed.
Lauren, do you want to explain how that worked from your side? What actually happened on your first phone call with Kew Green, with Toby?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think Toby sort of referenced it earlier in some of his points, but I think one of the key things was, despite the fact that he had already had a couple of conversations, I still was brought in quite early in the project, which I think was really key and fundamental to the onward success we ended up having. But because I already had the relationship with Kew Green as well, bringing to the project, I already understood the complexity of the estate, how all of the different components of that needed to slot together, what maybe the current operational pain points they faced, but also obviously used multiple calls and discovery sessions to understand any other bits that maybe I wasn't aware of today. And that aligned not just across operations, but also with IT, with finance, so that we were keeping all of those stakeholders happy, and sort of framed that really as like an end-to-end operational challenge today. What does that look like? We're not just purely looking at POS and payments. What's the bigger picture here? And how can we then define an integrated, scalable model that's going to take that forward for them?
Brilliant. So Toby, as he said, I don't think he called himself a food and beverage expert, but let's call him a food and beverage expert rather than a technology expert. So I guess you were almost translating for him. You were that person that was making it make sense to Toby from a very operational food and beverage point of view, and you were looking after the technology side from a sort of understanding perspective, defining the problem, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with that, we, I suppose, to make sure that then I'd understood everything and then got all of the correct partners or different stakeholders we might need to take it forward and deliver. I started really with outcomes. So what's really important here? Guest experience, obviously, creating efficiency across the business and scalability going forward as well. So really defining those principles. Integration for me was something that I could immediately see was going to be a massive game changer for them and provide probably more consistency and resilience than maybe what they've currently got in place today. So by aligning all of the necessary components, so whether that be POS, whether that be Gateway, whether that's us as the acquirer and Kew Green's internal teams, I sort of then really sort of I like to see myself, I suppose, as like the orchestrator of that little ecosystem we created, and was just pulling everybody together to try and make that happen and deliver.
So Toby, how did you go about choosing the right point of sale? And we'll come on to your Gateway partner after that, but how did that process work from your perspective?
Well, like when Lauren got in touch, it was like I said, I'd already been to the big players because I knew some of them. I'd worked with them. I'm a lot older than I actually look, so I've been around a long time. But the first conversation with Lauren was really simple, and I think she's already alluded to it. She wanted to get under the skin of what the business actually needed, not just now, but in 3-5 years' time, which is super important for anybody that's doing this, and understanding what else is there that you might need to tag on as we go through this. So Lauren put down. She's already referenced it, an end-to-end provider. So that was Tavalis from a POS perspective, Planet from a payment perspective, and then we'll talk about the QR pay at table or scan and pay platform. But very, very simple. We talked about it. These weren't long conversations. I think there was an element of trust that built up really, really quickly. Which was super, super important. I wasn't being baffled by any techno babble. And I remember during the rollout, I had to tell them to stop talking in their language. They had to give it to me in pictures. But it was super important that I trusted the people, that they were giving me the platform that was right. And that's what Lauren did. She gave me end to end.
Brilliant. Simplified the process and just made it clear for you to understand. In our previous conversations, I've learnt that it was quite the rapid rollout. Lauren, from your point of view, how did you simplify that process for Kew Green to ensure that they achieved the outcomes that they were after from this new end-to-end point of sale and payments gateways and payments solution?
Yeah, and I think when there are so many different components, it can be quite tricky, can't it? Because you've got to have, I think one of the key things we did early was define ownership. So who's going to be looking after which piece? What are the delivery timescales in clear sort of phases, I suppose, which helped make sure everybody stayed on track. There was obviously regular project management engagement across all parties. And yeah, we definitely tried to filter as much technical complexity from the client where we could and leave that within our sort of own remit. But throughout, I think the key thing that helped with that delivery at such a fast pace was maintaining that structured communication and real clear cadence, I suppose, to be able to hit those timelines. It was tough, but yeah, we did it.
Congratulations, because it was very, very fast. So Toby, it was almost like having your own personal consultant, wasn't it? Having Lauren on side with her industry knowledge, and that obviously gave you additional confidence throughout the rollout. Are there any sort of standout moments where, if it wasn't for Lauren and Barclaycard Payments, that you would have just thrown in the towel and gone home?
Numerous. Numerous. I think the actual rollout period, yes, it was. I mean, we were pushed. We had a certain deadline that we had to hit anyway. It was an unbudgeted project that we needed to work through those challenges as well. And I think, look, and again, this is where it started to prove the trust element, because who Barclaycard and Lauren had been proposing worked with us on all of that as well to make sure that we could land this successfully. The actual rollout, I mean, we said 12 weeks. I think it was less than that, Lauren, wasn't it? It was about 6 to 8 weeks from the moment the first machine went in to when the last one did. The standout moments, like I said, were numerous, Jane. I mean, even to a point that we actually had a gap right at the end where we lost our previous provider and we had to speed it up even more, and we were literally on hourly calls trying to make sure. I mean, Laura must have had people in bicycles sending this stuff out, but it was all about the customer. I can't stress enough how everybody just all sort of like everyone just jumped on board and said, we just got to make this work. So I can't name one because there were just so many of them. But
that's brilliant, isn't it? So Lauren, obviously Toby and Kew Green were a key client for you in this, but it can't have been easy maintaining alignment and trust amongst all the partners, and you already said you were orchestrating it, like the conductor of a big orchestra. But have you got any tips on how you managed that, how you did maintain that trust and effectively make this rollout a success?
Yeah, I think transparency and being really clear on like what is achievable, what's potentially got some risk attached to it because of the timelines, and being really clear on that from the get-go helped, because you're not setting yourself up to fail if it's a completely unachievable task. But keeping that message consistent across all partners, so all of the stakeholders and partners that were involved, I think all applied that same sort of logic. So as I referenced earlier, where we all had taken our own individual ownership of our part in the rollout, and everybody was singing off the same hymn sheet. I seem to have a bit of a theme here, don't I, of an orchestra or music going on. But that was how we, were able to deliver on our commitments. And there were no surprises. I think that's when things, can you can lose trust and you lose that alignment when people have not necessarily been proactive in the communication. And sometimes, things don't go to plan, but it's how you handle those situations, I think, that then allow you to move forward.
So thank you. So Toby, you rolled out more than 40 hotels in less than 12 weeks. I mean, that really is a significant achievement.
It was massive. It was massive. And not only that, but you had different brands. You had about 6 different brands in there as well that we were rolling out to. So some slightly different challenges. Some have a simpler sort of POS, faster, like the Expresses, Holiday Inn Expresses versus the Vocos and the Marriott. So lots of complexity in there. And I think, again, really from a central, I'll use the same terminology, from an orchestra point of view, managing that I think we were on 3 calls a week, but also this is where it really changed the game for me, is we were dealing with operators that aren't technologically inclined. And you're dealing with very high-tech systems here with very experienced people. And as much as Lauren was simplifying everything for me, that was super helpful to help me simplify it for the operator. And again, the flexibility of, okay, we'll roll out, the POS is going in, then we get a group of people on a call and we do some training. So it was almost like the bouncing sort of pinball effect of, while the next lot's being rolled out, we're actually training that lot in. And then we've got the payment system that was going in at the same time. So Planet Pay were there. I look back on during, I'm not going to make any bones about it, during it was a high stress situation, but it was simplified so much by the team of people that Lauren pulled together.
And you kept it on track time-wise. I guess you had to, but still it's an achievement that you actually did manage to do that and maintain standards across multiple brands as well. That's no easy task with staff to deal with and get their buy-in, because I always say a successful installation is coming when you've got the staff buying into it as well, but they probably didn't have much time to buy in beforehand.
No, they knew it was coming, because I'd made a commitment to them when they'd expressed their sort of unhappiness with the old platform. But I think when they saw it, actually, they don't really know what they're getting until they can touch and feel it and use it. And it was almost euphoric. It was ridiculous. At that point, they thought I'd done it all, but I hadn't. But I think it's been that follow-on. Again, choosing the right people, because putting it in and turning it on is one thing. What do you get post installation? What's that relationship going to be like afterwards? And that had always been on my agenda from the beginning. And I can't stress how excellent it is. It really is. And from Barclaycard payments, from the POS provider, the payment provider, very happy.
It's all good. So Lauren, you're now extending the solution across further operations as well. And I guess the initial rollout has made the future work look easy by comparison. But seriously, were there any key moments in the rollout that made you stop and think that might shape a different approach to future workouts?
So I think obviously there's learnings that we can take forward for the next rollout for the wider estate, for the next sort of module, I suppose, that we're building on. But I think, as Toby is sort of referenced, there was really strong operational adoption in the hotels. And I think you said it yourself, Jane, when you've got that sort of buy-in, I suppose, from the people who are using these systems day in, day out, and they can see the benefits of the efficiencies and everything that it's creating, that really cemented to me that, the next phase of what we want to do with front of house is just going to further elevate not only the customer experience, but the experience for staff who are using it all the time, because it's reliable system that, like Toby said, it literally was in for not long at all before they were seeing the benefits of it. That gives a really strong foundation for us to then build on that platform and scale that up across the business to all these other now different components that we haven't yet touched. So yeah, it's exciting.
Exciting. Yeah, definitely. Right, we have got some questions coming in, so please do keep them coming. We've got a few here. Toby, one here is asking you, I think this is like a best of breed versus one-stop shop question. The option you went with, multiple suppliers and integrations, holding them together with different contracts. So you've got all these different suppliers you're working with, versus a single supplier. This is such a common argument, whether you go best of breed or whether you go to the one-stop shop. What made you choose the solution that you went for ultimately?
I think although they're one-stop shops, they're all very much, they work it's an end-to-end. So we haven't talked about the QR code platform yet. I had the option of going to the one-stop shop. There was one in particular that made it onto the shortlist, but again, it was there. I don't want to make this sound rude, but I needed people. I needed the people that were going to come on board, work with me, and carry on working with me. The one-stop shop would have forced me down a particular route. So I felt I was being dictated to more than having the option to mold it for my operator.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess with your different brands as well, you needed that additional flexibility. Excuse me. There's another one here, but I'm not going to ask it. It asks about who the incumbent supplier was, but I don't think we should go there publicly. So
we did mention that this morning. No, that's not.
I think we'll just have to ignore that one, but thank you for asking the question all the same. So that one, we won't come back to that one. So we'll come back to more questions. Please keep them coming if you have them. But Toby, for hospitality leaders starting on a similar program, how important is it early to get the right partners in place to help you shape the solution? And what would you say that should look like in the sort of like in the first few weeks of starting a project like this?
So first, to answer the first part of that, it's critical, absolutely critical. Lauren's already mentioned it. I think unless you're some genius of the POS world, I didn't realize it was such a minefield out there. There's dozens and dozens of them, and they all profess to do exactly the best thing that you're ever going to do. You need that external third party, if you like, and I was lucky enough to have Barclaycard payments. But it was about setting the scene and getting under the skin of the project and understanding fundamentally what was wrong. What did we need to do? What did we need to correct? Because there is the other end of the spectrum where you can have a system that you'll never use 30% of it, because it's one thing to move upwards, but then we sat down and had talks around, right, do we need the titanium version, or do we need the gold version? What do we need here? So, and that's where Barclaycard payments help navigate me through it.
And Lauren, for you to see a successful digital transformation like this, what would you say you need to do right at the very beginning to make sure you have success at the end?
I'd echo a lot of what Toby said. So payments has to be central to any transformation, not an afterthought. So the earlier you can engage, I think the better, before jumping into technology and vendors. I think, like Toby referenced before, like with a one-stop shop, you can get so far down the track and then your track has got narrower and narrower and your choices then become limited. If you've engaged payments early, that then allows this sort of much broader picture, and you can think about how that works for the wider business, not just the tiny small part that you might be looking at that particular moment in time. And I think that then does help with that alignment across your operations, your IT, your finance, and it gives that real, I suppose, benefit of being able to focus on that long-term scalability. You're not just looking at that short-term fix for right there and then. I'd say that would be my main thoughts.
Brilliant, thank you. And looking back, Toby, what was the most critical factor that enabled both the partnership and delivery? What made it successful? I think you're going to answer Lauren, aren't you? I think this.
I was thinking, how can I not say Lauren? What should I say without saying Lauren? I think it's yeah, that is the answer. But it's about having the right people. I mean, look, we had an internal team as well, but really I'm not saying I was a lone wolf. I had an F&B support manager. I had one of the regional accountants, but you've got to have somebody taking you through this. You won't know everything about it, so reach out, get the experts to support you on this. And I don't mean the supplier of the equipment. I mean a third party that can navigate you through this. It's critical.
Yes, yeah, there are some great consultants out there as well. So if you don't have the benefit of a great account manager at Barclaycard Payments or whatever, then there are consultants that would do one. Oh, Lauren, someone's offering you a job here. Don't tell Barclaycard Payments that. There is a question here, actually, Toby, which I think is going to. We were talking earlier about the modular solution, but the question is, can you afford us some insight about the different needs from your point of sale payment gateway from the various different brands within Kew Green, with any examples? And the question person who's asking the question says, I'm coming from a tech supplier side, and I'm always looking to enhance our technical offering by supporting growth in these areas.
This is quite a broad subject. From a brand perspective, we have we have the expresses, which are it's a much simpler F&B proposition that we've got in there. We've also got, we needed something that could maybe do kiosks, a lot of integration. I suppose that's what I'm saying. It could integrate or develop into different areas of payment platforms. The modular side was more from the provider that Barclaycard Payments recommended. It wasn't just about a POS system with a central management dashboard where I can control all the tills, we can build all the tills. So my team build all the recipes, so on and so forth. But it was also, they have stock management, they have recipe management, they have business analytics. It was all there in fact, I was like a rabbit in headlamps when I first saw it, because there was just more data than I'd ever possibly imagined. So, but it's about, I think, if from a tech designer point of view, I have a lot of questions like this. It's about understanding operationally and centrally what they need. Lots of tech at the moment is being developed without being close enough to the operator and the changing challenges within our industry.
Yeah, no, that's very, very, very wise point there. So someone else has said new point of sale, new payment solution, payment by QR code. Have we mentioned that? Have you got payment by QR code?
So that's just about to come on board. And again, it was the end platform that again, with the trio of providers that Barclaycard Payments recommended. So we're literally just starting last week. So this will give us the functionality now of scan and pay at your table, and then anybody with labour challenges, that means you don't need as many front of house. Check goes straight through to the kitchen and it comes to your table. We're going to add it to our rooms for room service. And then the platform that we were recommended will also integrate with Opera, so your guests can actually charge to their own room from their room. So really, really slick, really, really flexible. And these people, again, the flexibility they've taken their platform and now given us a landing page as well. So on our landing page, we can put, go here for discounts, go here for offers, go here for events. So again, really, really flexible. Absolutely was given all the right people.
Brilliant. So Lauren, one of the last questions for you. If you had to distill the project into a single takeaway, which is tricky for the audience, what would that be? I'll probably let you have two if you need to.
I'd say I look at it as this wasn't just a POS or payments implementation. It was really, for me, about designing something that would work in perfect harmony. I'm going to stick with my music theme for Kew Green's operational model. Like that for me was the fundamental thing. It's very easy, as I said before, to fragment things and look at payments as just a small part, but it was about, for me, looking at that, as Toby's referenced, the operational model for the client. And I think once you really understand that, that's that's what I think brought everything all together, and that meant that I could then, deliver at scale and roll out at pace the solution for them but still in a structured way. So yeah, I think bringing the right partners together with that operating model rather than approaching it as the separate components, I think that's what allowed us I suppose to make it from what it is a complex transformation, let's make no bones about that, to as simple as we possibly could, so that Kew Green could stay focused on the outcome of that rather than the actual complexities of that process to get there.
Fantastic. Okay, and we've got another question, which is quite far-reaching, I think. For organisations, it's for you, Toby. For organisations considering a similar transformation, what are the most common misconceptions about point of sale and payments projects that can slow down decision making or create unnecessary complexity?
I can only really speak from my experience. I think misconceptions. I've said it before, unless you're a tech expert in a POS system, we as an operator, we want to be able to ring things through, open a table and do all of that. Everything else becomes a little bit of a blur. So I tried to focus on, it wasn't so, don't think I had any misconceptions. I was stunned with that everybody was going to be the best thing that I could ever have. Commercially, that it always stands out. I mean, as a director of business, you're always looking at what's the best, what's going to give me the best bang for my buck. And Frank, there was some real shockers out there. I'm not going to make any bones about it. So it's not expensive. I think a misconception when I started was I thought, oh my God, I'm just going to have to push this back into 2026. And then after Lauren came aboard, she sort of swooped in, said, no, it doesn't have to be like that. And it wasn't at all. So it's not expensive. You can get an excellent platform at a reasonable rate as long as you know who to go to.
Okay. And it sounds like, Toby, the project's finished now. So you're putting your feet up now for a little while and just
No, this is the exciting bit. So yes, we've finished phase one, which is what we've talked about today. But the development capabilities of the people that we put in are it's really encouraging. We're still on weekly calls with them, and that will never end. We moved away from the sort of installation phase, and we stopped communication with them. I have a weekly call with the account manager. She says, what do you want it to do next? So currently we're just about to start a project to redesign how KMS, because it links into the KMS screens in the kitchens. And I want that super efficient for the chefs now. So how do we reduce the footfall backwards and forwards? How do we use the system to send messages backwards and forwards? I don't think I've probably got 2 or 3 years of this left in me, but it's going to be the exciting development stuff now.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you've got a lot going on. And Lauren, from your point of view, how do you measure success? Obviously, it's moving all the time, but do you think your part from this? I'm sure you've got many other projects on the go, but from the Kew Green perspective, and I don't doubt for one moment that you will continue to be their account manager and speak to Toby. But from your point of view, are you now moving on from this, and are you marking it off as a success?
I'm definitely marking it as a success, but because Kew Green are a client of mine that I manage, it continues. So much like Toby, I'm not putting my feet up. I'm moving on to the next phase with the front of house team. So we're now looking at rolling out a similar sort of integrated journey for front of house. So we've got a big tick in the box for F&B, and as Toby says, he's now looking at how he can enhance that further. But today in Kew Green, we're able to go through a much similar process to what we've done already in F&B, but for front of house. So we can take all the learnings that we've done from this last project to make it, even slicker, smoother. And again, it's going to be fast paced. Yeah, that's where my next good couple of months certainly are focused on my efforts with Kew Green.
So no time for feet up for either of you then. There's a very specific question here for you, Toby, actually, regarding the day-to-day admin of menus
Mhm.
and price changes and configuration changes. Because you've got so many hotels and different brands that you look after, do you do all that separately, or is there somebody in each hotel who is a point of sale champion who does it locally?
No, so we do it centrally. You can do either or with Tavalis. You can set them up. You can have central management, which is my team. So recipe wise, I have a guy, obviously chef. He looks after all the food side. So all the recipes, and this was where we integrated it into our stock system as well for depleting stocks to get that sort of end-to-end process. So you can have either central management from a so in our world, it's the F&B team, it's the regional finance managers, anybody that needs access to that system. We build it so we can build the Tavalis products. We set each of our brands up separately in what's called a package. So Holiday Inn, Holiday Inn Express, Voco. So we can make the independent changes, or you can do it at site level. So I can either change a singular Holiday Inn's F&B offerings, but we gave them some functionality left in the hotels to make adjustments.
Well, for someone who's saying they're a self-professed non-techie person, you seem to be getting on with it incredibly, incredibly successfully.
If you talked to me in September, I wouldn't have known any of this.
Do you have a big team behind you? That's another question, actually. You sort of centrally, you've mentioned already you have some people there, but do you have a big team behind you at Kew Green?
No, when I say my team, there's two.
Okay.
There's an F&B support manager and a beverage support manager and a food support manager. So it's a small team. So we needed a platform that was really, really simple to use as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a perfect place to actually conclude these discussions. The questions are coming in, but they're actually, some of them are very, very similar. And I think we've established that getting it right at the very beginning is clearly the key to success. And if you can find someone like Lauren to help you run your project with all her industry knowledge, then all the better. But also dedication from you and bringing your team along board, Toby, has clearly made this a real success. For anybody listening, I'm very happy to introduce you to either Lauren or Toby if you'd like to, or I'm sure you'll be able to find them on LinkedIn. As always, if you need any formal advice, then please approach your professional advisors or come to me at HOSPA for a referral. And do let me know if I can make any introductions from this call today. But thank you so much, Toby and Lauren. That was a really interesting, heartwarming story about how we can have fun in hospitality and achieve amazing things within a really short timescale as well. So it was a great discussion. Thank you. If I could just ask everybody listening to take a look at hospa.org for other upcoming events. We've got a number of webinars as always and a few in-person events coming up. This time next week, we've got a slightly different view on payments, but we're talking with Prompt, who are actually another official partner with Barclaycard, but that should be an interesting call as well. So that's next Tuesday at 10. Have a look on the website to register for that. Today also, my colleagues are running this one. We're hosting a roundtable event in Kent, and next Tuesday the 9th we'll be doing another one in London. So if you're not registered for that one and would like to come along, please have a look. And those are just general discussions about what's actually going on in the industry right now. Finally, our annual finance update with BDO is on the 11th of June. That's always a very popular one for people who want to get all the headline news on finance. And even it's interesting even for non-finance people, believe me. And our Hotel Marketing Awards will take place on the 22nd of June at the Waldorf Hilton. So that'll be fun. So please take a look. But all it remains for me to do is a massive thank you to our wonderful speakers today, Toby and Lauren. So thank you both very much for your time. And I look forward to meeting you both in person and seeing all of our viewers again sometime soon. But thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Jane. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.